So in this video, I'm going to be doing a petticoat for a ball gown that I'm going to be creating in the next video. Listen, this ball gown is going to be major because this is a ball gown of my life. So, I will explain that a little bit later. But this episode, I'm going to create myself a panel petticoat because I don't want to do the traditional one. So I have to create something to help the ball gown stay up. I was looking at pictures in the atelier, and this is the type of stuff that I look on Pinterest because I one day want to have a pattern room where it's going to be in my office or in my store, and we have pattern makers and seamstresses inside who's creating my pieces. So I love looking at the atelier's rooms to see what goes down in those rooms, and some of these are the pictures that I found on not Instagram, on Pinterest. And they show some of the workmanship that goes into creating these extravagant ball gowns. So like I said, I wanted to create something very similar to this, so I'm going to go ahead and temp this petticoat. So let's get started. So I'm going to measure the length of my skirt at the side seam, how long I want it. But first we have to do the waist at the top corner. From the 1/2 inch mark down is your length of your skirt, and at the side seam as well. So my length of the skirt is 47, and as you can see, this goes to 39. So what I'm going to do is add a piece of paper to extend the length of the skirt at the center front, so that way I can have the length of the skirt that I want. Okay, so here is the skirt. This is half of the skirt, but I want 3 panels for my skirt, so when this is cut on the fold, I'll get the other half of this skirt. So what I'm going to do is measure the circumference of the front portion of the skirt, which this is going to definitely be the front and back, but I need the circumference of this front portion of the skirt, which is going to be 196 total when this is cut on the fold. And I'm going to divide that hem width by 3, so that way I can divide the skirt 3 sections, so that way I can create my 3 panels. Now you can add more panels if you want, just make sure you divide it within the hem of the skirt. So I'm going to divide the waistline as well into 3, and I have to find the circumference of the waistline and divide that by 3. Yes, Mr. Boy? Yes, Mr. Boy? The hem now is 56, so I'm going to start from the side seam and bring the point here to 56 inches, and then divide the waistline by 3, so that way I can connect it and have a line here. Now I'm going to draw my point, my line that separates the panels from point to point. So this will be 1 panel, and when this is cut on the fold, another panel right there. So this is the official skirt pattern. Here is the first panel. That is the side panel of the skirt. And then I went ahead and copied the center front panel, which will be cut on the fold. This will be joined together like this, and this will be cut on the fold when it's time. So I'm going to be using this organza, this stiff organza that has body. So I'm going to use this to create the petticoat only, and it's 60 inches wide. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out the panels in this. So I'm going to take my horsehair and place it right on the panel. I'm going to stitch it down in place. And this will help create that volume teacup type of look when you lay the self fabric on top of the petticoat. So I'm going to go ahead down the panel and place my horsehair until I get to the hem, where I'm going to use it to hem the bottom, and it's going to be on the face of the petticoat that's going to be underneath the wrong side of the skirt. So right now I'm sewing the horsehair at the bottom hem of the panel, and for me to do that, I went ahead and placed my horsehair on the opposite side of the panel, where the other horsehairs are not facing or not stitched down, and then I stitched it down at the edge of the hem, 1/4 of an inch like this, and then I flipped it over back onto the side where all the horsehairs are all on the same side of the panel, and then push it back like this to make it nice and neat at the edge like this, and then top stitch it to completely seal it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for all other panels. So this is what the panel looks like when it's fully stitched with the horsehair, and then this will be the side panel that will be placed next to it on this side and on that side. So now it's time to put the panels together, and I'm just gonna do a French seam because I'm not gonna bind it. I don't want the end to look kind of funny or bulky, so I'm going to do a French seam. So all I'm going to do is just pin the skirts together, sew it 1/4, trim a little bit down, and then sew it 1/4 again so I can fully clean this up. Okay, so here is the petticoat, and as you can see, I put in horsehair, thinking that the horsehair was going to be sturdy enough to give it shape, but I think I need shape to this. I did ask Instagram, and I asked YouTube stories, and some of you guys, the ones who answered, said I should add boning. So I'm definitely going to put the boning in between the horsehair to give it that round shape and stay in shape. I did one panel so far. Here it is, and it keeps it in a rounded cone shape, which is good. So I'm going to definitely do that for the rest. So I'm definitely going to do that for the rest of the other panels. Okay, so here is one of the panels completed, and as you can see, it's giving it some shape. You know, I just took the regular boning, flat boning. So here is the flat boning that I used. I'm using this one, and all I did was sew across with this in place, and then I sew one down the middle just to make sure that it stays up and straight. So all I'm going to do is just place this bone right in the center and not towards the edge of the seam allowance, about 3/8 away from the seam allowance, because when it's time for me to do my French seam, I could do it. So I'm gonna stitch my bones with a zigzag stitch in place because I think I just chose that because the bone is 25, a half an inch wide. So I want to kind of get the width of the bones to be stitched down instead of a straight stitch. But you can choose to do it any way you want. Get something like this. Okay, so here is the back panels, and I am going to put them together, raw edges together, and I'm going to go ahead and sew 1/4 of an inch. See how I left the bones not to be at the edge, so that way I can meet this up and sew it 1/4 of an inch right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to create my French seam. So here is the seam to the panel, and I already put the bones in, as you can see here. And I'm ready to do my French seam, and this is the raw edge. So what I'm going to do is just case this in, and then since the bones is hitting right at the seam allowance, all I have to do is just bind this and sew it down the seam, and that's it. And then this will be sealed and closed. Okay, so here it is. So this is the center, this is the side seam and back panels, side back panels. So when the fabric lay, it will lay right into the creases to create this round shape. And I'm so anxious to see what this looks like. Couture! Yes! I'm almost done. Oh my goodness. And I'm sewing some binding to clean up the edge of my center back. And this is what the binding edge looked like. And I cleaned it up at the center back. So let's take it to the dress form. Yes! Yes! Oh, yes! So here is all the bones, and as you can see, I zigzag stitch it just to get the width of the coverage of the bones, and it is so much better than it was previously. And as you can see, everything stays the shape. Oh yes! Now this is how I wanted the petticoat to be without any hoop or extra layers. So I'm going to lay my fabric right on top of this, and this is it, darlings. Couture. Yes, I do got it. Woo. So stay tuned for the video. Oh, wait. Quiet, please. Quiet, please. So stay tuned for the video of the gown tutorial that I'm going to be creating. It's going to be super fun. It's my house.